Hello everyone, welcome to An Idiot Aboard. I'm Danny, your idiot. This is a board. And we're going to be using wood today. What are we up to? Well, I don't know if you remember, but the wall to my right was covered in crap and couldn't access it. Decided to do something about that today. Going to start prepping so that I can start putting stuff on the wall, storing it, getting it out the way, off the floor, off the benches and so on, and see how we go from there. Now, before we go any further, where have I been? Well, as you may or may not know, me and Mrs. B, we bought a fifth wheel. We've been spending a hell of a lot of time there, hardly been at home for the last couple of weeks, and when we have, it's just very, very busy with the kiddies. But today I've got a bit of time, so I've got to crack on and get shit done. So today I will be taking these boards from the old shelving unit that used to be situated underneath where you're watching from now, where I've situated the camera. There used to be an old shelf and it had these boards as part of it, and I'm going to put them on the wall. We're going to get a bit wobbly. I'm going to put them, come out of there, on the wall like so. There's 6 of them and they're going to come down the wall like that. Okay, there's where I've moved most of the stuff to. I'm going to cut it off at that stud there. Okay, I've just whacked this one up so I can show you the general idea, and then each consecutive board will go up boom, 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 boom. This is something I was planning on, well, not planning on doing, I've just thought of it when I was at the fifth wheel last night. And then that way, more for this wall because the stud work is so irregular, whereas that way, it doesn't matter where I put screws in to attach my French cleats or whatever system I end up using, I can just put it straight into the wood. I don't have to worry about being on the center of the studs. And I don't have to worry about finishing the walls. Yay! So that will eventually be repeated on these walls as well in some form or another, because there's crappy plasterboard there and concrete there. So I'm going to take this one down and we're going to cut it to length to fit halfway across that stud, which I know is there because I screwed that to it. And to do so, we're going to use my little miter saw, my little cobalt miter saw that I picked up dirt cheap in Rona. $139 for a 7.5 inch blade compound miter saw. Now, compound miter saw, what that means is I can cut various angles on it. And if you just hang on a sec, I'll try and set the camera up so I can show you exactly what that means. This little knobby here can change the angle. If I pull this out, pull the trigger, so I can cut at an angle if I need to. But today I don't. I want it at 90 or 0 as it says on the dial. So that is there. And we'll tighten that up and she's back on 0. Okay, but I can also angle the blade, and you can't see that very well at the moment, so let's try and prop this camera up a little bit without tipping it over, Danny. There we go. So the blade part, this bit that does the choppy chop, can be adjusted back here, I believe. Yep, like so. So I can cut at different angles there. But again, today I want it at 0. So let's tighten that up so I don't run the risk of losing any limbs while I film this. And I'll get that piece off the wall and we'll try and film me cutting it if I don't get my fat ass in the way. So this is my miter saw. It's a compound miter saw. It's a cobalt. It's not anything flash or fancy. It's the smallest, cheapest one I could get. At the time it was on sale at Rona for $139. Not bad, not bad at all. 7.5 inch blade in here, whirling spinny jaws of death. Has a laser on it frickin' laser. And it cuts really nicely for a small machine with not that much power. It's pretty good. It has a dust bag on it, totally pointless. It's my only complaint is the dust collection sucks. And I'm going to use that to cut this board here to length. I've already marked it, if I can find the mark. I don't know if you'll be able to see it. Where is it? I scored it with my marking knife. I say marking knife, just a knife. Not one specifically designed for marking, but hey ho. Makes a nice little line. And I'm going to line that up with the laser on there. Here we go. And make a nice little cut. I've gone deaf. It's a bit loud, but hey, this is a little room, so I'm not surprised. So it makes a nice cut. Have a look at this, look. There it is. A really nice little cut on a crappy old piece of wood. No tear out on the back whatsoever. A little bit of tear out here on this edge. But it's a really nice little cut. It's the original blade it came with. So, let me just turn you around again. Sorry if it makes you seasick. Sliding miter saw. It's called a sliding miter saw because it's got little bits that stick out the back and it slides forward so I can cut longer pieces. Like so. There goes the dust from inside it. I can change the angle. Let me unplug it so I don't lose a finger. I can change the angle of the cut if I want. Unscrew this here and I can change the angle of the cut, but I very rarely need it at anything other than, it's always tricky with one hand to get it set right. Close enough. 0 degrees. And I can also, by adjusting another lever, you can see the dial at the back here. I can do 45-degree angle cuts like this. So it's a compound. I can do compound cuts. I can cut at this angle and at 45 degrees like that to cut across a piece of wood if I need to do tricky shapes with it or whatever. But I don't. I'm not going to be doing any tricky stuff, at least not yet. So this board that I've just cut is going to join that one just underneath it here. And then the offcuts I should be able to get over there to patch that side up. Okay, I'm not going to go all the way to the end of the wall because I want to find a solution for covering that first. I'll probably just build a small box around it. But anyway, that's the plan for this part. So I'll do the rest of those. There are 6 of them in total, and we'll get back to it and see how it goes. Oh, not bad through there. Not bad through there. Considering these are really wonky old bits of wood, and I have to trim that end off of that one because some pilot cut it the wrong length. It's not bad. I thought because the wood's quite warped and bowed and twisted in every bloody direction, every dimension, including the fourth. I thought it was going to be a lot wonkier than it is. Yeah, it's got a few bumps but it's actually the quality of the plasterboard in underneath it. You see, that's what it is. No, I think I've got away with that. So what I'm going to do next is start actually building some French cleats so I can get some of my tools up and off of there I think the first one, I'd have to look at getting my corded tools, because at the moment I've got a circular saw over there, a jigsaw over there, my I call it the noise maker, but my oscillating saw or oscillating multi-tool just hanging on an old table right now. Such is life. But yeah, we'll start getting things slowly but surely squared up, put away, tidied up, whatever, and then we can carry on. I've still got that area to do and the whole other side of that workshop to do, and then we can, once that's all done, I can use all my old cabinets and benches. I use the term benches lightly because most of them are just old drawers and cut down wardrobes. I've got one real bench and it's full of crap at the minute. I can start building proper units to go in here, and that means spending money, because at the moment the only thing I've spent money on are tools. The table saw, my lovely little miter saw. I've got a very small planer over there, router table, little small Craftsman router table, and you know, as and when we get to them and you see me using them, I'll explain all of them to you, what they do, what they don't do, and just how they can make me lose a finger, which normally just involves a turning, swinging blade of death, which is great. But we will go through it all and see what's what, and gradually make some sense of this absolute mess. And I hope you can see my face and not just my fat fucking belly. Right, so first thing I'm going to be putting on that wall is this. And what the hell is this, you may ask? Well, this is something I made quite a while ago now, just to get my circular saw, my Black & Decker circular saw, which my kids bought me for Father's Day one year. I have awesome kids. Up on the wall, out the way, off the floor. It's quite simple. It's just an old table, old coffee table we used to have, that I marked out the area of the plate on the circular saw. Let's just lift it here. You can see this, the plate of the circular saw. Mark that out. Put two bits of wood, one for it to sit on and one for it to kind of clip under this front edge of the saw here. It goes under there. I'm doing this one-handed, so I'm going to drop it. You watch. There it goes. Haha, bugger. Don't work one-handed because it's not meant to stand up. It's meant to hang. Screws into the wall. So, forgive me a second. Goes in there like that. This bit hooks under here. Down the bottom, it sits there. And then the little hook there is for the lead, so that nothing gets in the way, hangs around, and is a general pain. Hey, excuse me, bloody Nora. That's all the dust from cutting on the miter saw just now. So that goes in there like that. As you can see, it's hooked up. I've used a couple of little rubber washers as spacers just to get this out enough, and that hangs on the wall like that. On the back, as you can see, the blade and the cover stick through here, and it has this little part here. It's not a stand. That's to go against the wall, so the wall comes up like that, and then it's screwed into the wall through the front. There's a hole here, there's another one there, and one just under here. Okay, so let's get that up on the wall and call that done. So, what's next? Well, we have to get some French cleats up on that wall. I do have some already cut, but they're too small really. They were just tests, very small pieces. I can use them on the back of the holders and such that I make, the tool holders and accessory holders that I make, but they're not really big enough for what I want. You know, they're only an 1.5 inches thick, and I want them to be at least, you know, like 3 inches at the front, 2 inches at the back, kind of thing. or whatever the ratio is for the size, but a good 3 inches. So that way I can put them close enough like this, but so that there's a wide surface area for the tool above to sit on it so it doesn't swing, to give it some stability. I'll show you what I mean actually with one of the trials I made. Hang on, let's take you out of there. This is what I made for my chisels, just as a test, just to see if it worked. Cheaper shit chisels, but never mind. And as you can see, the top cleat fits in here. It's attached to this, and that sits in there nicely and holds it in place. And then the bottom actually hits the next row of cleats here, or the next cleat, you know. And I can hang stuff on that. That's my camera holder. Look at that high-tech crap in it. You know, so that can sit there or there, but my camera holder too sits against that. These just hang freely, and that one's all right, but this, wouldn't trust it as far as I can throw it. Look at that, wobbling all over the place. So I want a bit more stability, and this is nice. This is nice and stable, doesn't move at all. So that's what I want to replicate over there. I've put that up, but there is a problem with it. I didn't account for the fact that, unlike previously where there was no plasterboard on the wall and where I screwed it to a stud, the blade hung in the gap between studs, now the blade is here. I actually had to turn it on just to turn the blade a bit, just so I could get it in. So it's kind of, I don't know if you can see it, but the blade is actually in the wall. So we'll take that off. I'm going to put a French cleat on the back of that. That, in turn, should bring it out further from the wall, meaning that this can fully close over the blade and be a bit safer while it's there. Hopefully. So let's crack on. Now this is my table saw. It's a, well, I was about to say all singing, all dancing. No, it's the all singing, all dancing equivalent to a one-legged mute. Cheap and cheerful, again, recurring theme with me. King Canada. There's the spinning wheel of death right there, the finger catcher, or lopper, as it's called. 15 amps of power, 10-inch table saw. This little doohickey here can raise and lower the blade. On-off switch, ooh, would be pretty crap without that. This is the fence. Now you use this to put your sheet material against when you're cutting. You set it to the right length and tighten it up, and then you run it across there, and you're supposed to have a perfectly straight cut. However, this thing is a bugger to get straight. It's really tough. Like I said, it's cheap and cheerful for a reason. Okay, so anyway, we're going to make do as best we can. This is a push stick. Very important if you don't want to lose a finger, because sometimes if you've got the fence over here doing really thin cuts, you do not want to push the material through with your fingers this close to choppy McChop chop there. On the other side of it, I have the mitre gauge. Now this is something I can use to cut pieces like this across the length of the width of the material. On this side, you cut the length of the material or sheet material. This is for cutting across. Okay, they call that a cross cut. Whereas if you're cutting along the length of it using the fence, that's called a rip cut. Oh, listen to me, Mr. Knowledgeable. Someone's been watching YouTube videos. And I'm going to be using this material for my French cleats. Now, previously, I'd used that same material as my little experiment just to see if I could get it to work. And I'd cut these, and I'd even cut a little chamfer off the edge. Look, you see how it's not pointed? There you go. Nicely done. I'd cut these just to see if I could get it to work from that same stock here. Right down the middle. They're equal sizes. Turn it over, you can see. Ignore the tape that had screws attached to it, just so I didn't lose them. So, they go together like that. Saw it through. You've got two halves. But, like I said earlier, these bits, which are up here, these are the offcuts of what I did there, just as an experiment. These bits are too small, so I don't want to use them. So, bugger off over there Just as a quick aside, there's a freezer down there. Haven't used it in a while. So what I'm going to be doing is just taking a 45-degree edge off of this from the edge there. And first, I'm going to measure from there to there, because there's no point doing it all the way across yet. I'm going to cut this one down using the mitre gauge. So I'm going to do a cross cut. I've not done a cross cut with this yet, so that'll be interesting. I could just do it on there, but I figured I'll try it. So I'll cut it to the same length as that, and then bring it back to the table saw. I will set the angle of the blade at 45 degrees and lock the end off, or the top off, at 45 degrees to make my cleat. I'm not going to film me doing it, because I don't think you'll want to see that if I lose a finger. And I've got no way of holding the camera in place yet. Got to get myself a proper stand. Once I do, you can see me cut to your heart's content. Whether it's the wood getting cut or my fingers, we'll see. Anyway, catch you in a minute. So, first cleat is up. It's only got 2 screws in at the minute. Okay, what I did was, I put it where I wanted to put it, with enough space here to slot another one in, just about. Put the first screw in, made it nice and tight, but not so tight that I couldn't move it. And then, took my level, which was on the floor, hang on. Put my level on it, made sure it was level, put the next screw in. And look at that, she looks about right, doesn't she? Cheap plug for craftsmen, send me tools. Please, put that down there. So what I'm going to then do is use another cleat and hang it flat side up here, down, and use that, or just a couple of cleats, and use that to build off, so that I've got my level automatically set and the spacing automatically set. Okay, that's the plan, and we should cover this board as much as we can with that. He says, should. Famous last words, but we'll see how we get on. Just so you know, cutting MDF, medium density fiberboard, this stuff that I'm making the cleats out of, dusty work. Very, very dusty work. Very dusty. Gotta wear the mask. If not, who knows what the hell you're putting in your lungs. So be safe. Right, well, that'll do for now. I'm off to have a cup of tea. Well deserved, I think. It's dusty as sin down here. Feel like I've swallowed half a fucking pile of MDF. And that was with a mask on. Anyway, I've got a few things up on the wall, including the circular saw holder that I showed you earlier, and my Craftsman impact driver bits, and my chisels, just to get some stuff up. Oh, and my DeWalt square. But that's not in a holder, it's just hanging there. But I'm going to wobble the camera about, show you what it's all about, show you what we've done, and how we're going to expand it. Alright, so, have a look. Here's the holder I was talking about earlier. Now, difference being, I've added these, nicely cut at 45, thank you table saw, to the existing holder, so that this, oops, shit camera working it, so that this no longer touches the wall, and it keeps it at a nice 45-degree angle. I didn't mess around measuring stuff and seeing what was what. I threw stuff together, literally threw crap at the wall to see what fits, and or to see what sticks, and this is what stuck. And it's nice and solid, it doesn't go anywhere. This comes out really easily now, and back in. Whoops, I'm not even showing you. And back in nicely, he says. Yeah, what did I tell you? This is called an idiot aboard for a reason. There you go, it's in nicely. It's a two-handed job really, but there you go. These are easy enough. Stick a French cleat on the back of the pack. Stick them there out of the way. Hey, look at that. Cord control behind the old one. That's my camera holder. Chisels are there, as they were. Wrenches for the table saw. So I've got these here that I'll use. I'll take them down off of that wall, use those for the back of future holders. I've got a few more bits. There's other bits of wood that are similar size to this, but I can cut them down on the table saw. I don't have any more MDF like that. I've used all of that, but I've got other wood around that's similar, so I can soon enough use that. Anyway, most of today's work was done on this. As you can see, my table saw is now, well, maybe you can't, I don't know. Table saw is doubling as a workbench at the minute. And look at that, all craftsman. Shameless plug. So most of it's been done there. Eventually, things like this are going to go on its own little cabinet on casters. Every single big tool that I have will end up on its own little base on casters at approximately the same height. That's the plan, so that they're all interchangeable and movable, and they don't look out of place wherever I end up putting them. Okay, anyway, that's it for today. I'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.